So good morning. So how you feeling? Yeah, scale 1 low, 10 high. How you feeling?
Great.
Okay, turn to the person next to you and just ask them how happy they are. Just ask, how happy are you? How happy are you? You happy? Okay, good. Happy, 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 happy. Okay, happy, happy, happy. Okay, good. Are we happy here? Is it a happy table? Okay, good. All right. Just with a show of hands, how many of you like to talk to happy people? How many of you have ever met somebody who was not happy? Okay, from now on, when you meet people who are not happy, move away from them as quickly as possible. I love that question. Whenever you meet somebody, instead of saying, how are you, just say, how happy are you? Like if you walk into Starbucks, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. How happy are you? And what it does is it induces a state called happy. And just when I asked you that question, how happy you are, it's almost impossible not to smile. And people's physiology changes when they're happy. They think differently when they're happy. And one of the things that I learned as I was going through this whole SEAL Academy, by the way, thank you, Brian, for acknowledging that, because it's an extraordinary feat for me. I became the oldest guy ever to make it through the Civilian Naval Academy. I went through the whole thing, 30 days in Hell Week. And what you did that entire time as you're going through it, they said, just keep smiling. Just keep smiling, because your face will tell the world how you're experiencing yourself. And one of the things you want to do is when you're with your teammates, never let them see you suffer, because if they see you suffering, they start to suffer. If you start limping, they start to limp. There's so much that's going on. When you're happy, it creates happiness around you. So there's a little thought that we have in the academy that says is suffer in silence. So if you're having a bad day, keep it to yourself, because as soon as you tell somebody you're looking for other people to share in that suffering with you, it just makes their world more unbearable or more, disgusting or whatever is going on for them. So just look at the person next to you and just tell them that they can count on you to be happy for the next 45 minutes. Really happy. Okay. Happy? Okay, fantastic, good. So if you look up here, where we're going to work on, we only have a little bit of time together, so I wanted to bring to you what I would imagine for you, who I consider to be some of the best, is the way to get better. How did the best get better? That's a really important question. So you have to look really in different air. I mean, the air gets thinner up here. You got to look for better places to find new insight. And so how do the best get better? And I was sharing last night at dinner that one of the things is we have to learn how to delegate. We have to learn how to have other people do the things that we're not really uniquely qualified to do. Would you all agree with that? Yeah. And the better you become at building a structure around you that delegates your unique, everything that's not your unique ability, the more time you spend in the area that you're uniquely qualified. But there's only one thing that you cannot delegate, and that is what happens when you open your mouth. It's the only thing you can't delegate. There's certain, you cannot delegate to people to exercise for you. Or you can't say to somebody, hey, would you go to church for me this week? You can't delegate your responsibilities as a mother or as a father. But in business, the one thing that has to occur is when you open up your mouth, your words express your version of yourself at that moment. Say yes? Yeah. How many of you ever met somebody, they looked really good until they started talking? Boy, you look so hot, and then you open your mouth. What happened? I'm not talking about you. I'm not. So that's what I would like to do. And I have a master's practitioner in neurolinguistics, so I'm going to use the term magic words instead of NLP today. Just there's a lot of background story that people have around NLP, so I'll use magic words as the kind of the overarching concept today. And I'm going to share with you 17 language patterns. So you want to write these down. These are real practical, real useful things that you're going to use immediately in your next phone call. You'll use these in text messages. You'll use them in emails. You use them in letters. They're language patterns that I've been studying for a long time. I've studied with some of the most brilliant people, people like Jamie Smart, and I've studied all the work of Milton Erickson and Virginia Satir, John Bandler, Richard Bandler, John Grinder, so some really brilliant people. So as we go through this, I'm standing on the shoulders of some giants, some people who really understand how language works. And the first guy that really helped me understand it was a guy named Milton Erickson. He was a hypnotherapist. And he said this, he said, until you are willing to be confused about what you already know, what you know will never grow bigger, better, or more useful. I love that thought, that you actually have to get uncomfortable in order to grow. And one of the things I've noticed is that in my life is that I have a tendency, maybe you can do this too, is that we try to create comfort for everybody. We don't want anyone to get uncomfortable. So what we do is we try to find language to create comfort, when in fact most change occurs for people when they're uncomfortable. And what I found is the most skilled people, what they have the ability to do is stand being comfortable while other people are uncomfortable. And it's okay, because they know that in order for a person to get their dream, to have their vision come true, there's a place they have to pass through that's uncomfortable. They have to do something they've never done before. And if it's buying up to a dream home they've always dreamed of, and when the discomfort comes up, what they do is they stall, they start to hesitate, they start to sabotage. Things start to occur for people when they're getting out of their comfort zone. Say yes? Yeah. And as a leader, as a guide, as a person who's taking people on a journey to a version of their life or a vision of their life that's bigger than they're currently living, you have to stand in that place and watch people be uncomfortable. And sometimes you have to say things that cause them dissonance. Leon Festinger called it cognitive dissonance, where they have to hold two opposing thoughts at the same time, and it's uncomfortable. And sometimes you just have to be comfortable while other people are uncomfortable. And that's a sign of maturity. It's not wanting everybody to like you. It's okay if you don't like me. You're here to trust me. I'm going to tell you what it takes to get from where you are to where you want to be. And then when they're there, they look back and they go, thank you for being that person in my life. And you know that. You've all experienced that at one time or another. And you do this with your kids, or you wanted to do it with your kids. And it's really an interesting part of growth. So today what we're going to do is we're going to step into some areas that you may not be familiar with. I'm going to show you things that you didn't even know that you didn't even know. You'll look at some of this material and you'll say, wow, I didn't know that. So this is where you start. You start with what you know, and then that's what you don't know, and that's what you don't know that you don't know. So how many of you know people who know it all? So here's what I have come to from the place of neurology. When somebody is saying to you, I know. How many of you ever been with somebody that? Oh, I know. What they're really saying is shut up. And you could actually say to them, are you telling me to shut up? And underneath it all, what they're really saying is, you're not telling me anything I didn't know that I didn't know. And so there's an important aspect to bringing value to people's life. And that's what we all are here to do, is to bring value to another human being. And I know I'm bringing value to you when you are having what I've come to call is insightful understanding. Insightful understanding. When you say, oh, I didn't even know that. That's something I didn't even know that I didn't even know. And people's lives shift instantly when they get a new insight, when they get a new awareness. They get something and go, oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, wow, didn't know that. So I'm in day 4 of the Kokoro camp. It's a 30-day experience, and the graduation is this 50-hour, non-stop, sleep-deprived, no eating, no nothing, hell week experience. So I'm in day 3, 4, 5 around this, and my leg starts to hurt. And I start this little thing called limping. Anybody ever limp their way into the office? And so I'm limping along, and my commander comes over to me and goes, does your leg hurt, or is it your mind telling your leg hurts? I went, oh, wow. I thought I was going to get more sympathy than that. And in just that one question, I had to look inside it. Is it my leg or is it my mind? And I said, you know what? It's my mind. My mind is telling me that my leg hurts. My leg is not really hurt. Oh, everyone's hurting, but do I have to limp, or is that my mind saying I have to limp? And instantly, it released and I didn't have to limp anymore. And all it took was one good question. How many of you have ever been asked a really good question and all of a sudden it just shifted everything you were thinking? And that's what magic words do. Magic words cause people to go, oh, never had, oh. And so every time you open up your mouth, you are doing your very best to bring that insight. Robert Greenleaf said it this way, only speak when what you're about to say will improve upon the silence. Want to hear that again? Yeah. Robert Greenleaf, who is the man who started a movement, he's passed on, but he started a movement called Servant Leadership. Extraordinary man. Jim, you've heard of him, I'm sure. And he wrote a book called Servant Leadership, and one of his core principles was, as a leader, only speak when what you're about to say will improve upon the silence. I just love that thought. And sometimes we want to put noise into the silence as opposed to improve upon the silence. And silence is okay. And that's what we want to do, is just bring some deeper insight to our conversation. So what I'm going to work with you on today is just some really basic patterns, and then I'll advance them as we go along So as you look at this, you'll go, oh, okay, that's a little more advanced. But just know that in the beginning, when you're starting anything new, there's this kind of a learning curve to everything. So you just have to kind of surrender and go, okay, I'm going to see where that's going to go. So we're going to work with a whole language system. And I've been working on this for a long time, 30 years. I've been putting this together, put it into a whole series of tools and products and services and structure to support this. So if you're interested in getting some of the things, I brought some things with me today. If you want to grab some before you leave, I'll tell you about that. I'll give away one as a door prize or something a little later on. So if you don't want to take notes, know that this will all be available. If you want to take notes, or I'll post this on a website so you can take it later on. I'm here mostly because I want to help you guys get 17 new ways to think about what you're about to say. And so what we're going to work is with a system of meeting your client where they're at. This is called a matrix. And I've been always curious about how do you learn language. And the best way to learn language is, where's your client at right now, and what do you need to say to them for them to move to the next stage? So a client is either in pre-appointment, and that's that first stage. Like you haven't set up an appointment with them, you're marketing to them, you're trying to encourage them to come in for an appointment, you're trying to set up an initial consultation. And how many of you have ever had people say to you things like, oh, just email it to me, or just, and they keep on delaying, or just, what's the web address, or we'll drive by, send me something, and then you have to speak to that, either in the form of an email, or a letter, or a brochure, or a text message, or a phone call. And so there's language for that part of the relationship to move them to the next stage, which is to move into some consultation, some initial consultation. And then when you sit down at an initial consultation, you want them to go into agreement with you. And then when they go into agreement with you, you want to then start the work. You want to help them buy a house or help them sell a house. And then once you find a buyer, or you find somebody who wants a house that they want to buy, then you have to start negotiating. And then once you negotiate and you've got a contract, and then you have to remove conditions. And then after you remove conditions, then you have to celebrate or close. And then you have this period of time right after the closing. And so everyone goes through those 7 stages. And our responsibility as consultants is to meet people where they're at and give enough language that moves them gently to the next stage. And when people get stalled, or they hesitate, or they delay in those stages, what's missing is language to move them to the next level. And so what I do is I take each step, pre-appointment, initial consultation, finding a home, negotiating agreement, removing conditions, celebration, 30, 69 days. And I ask you, where's your client at right now? Where are they at? And all of you could take a client and put them up there somewhere. And I would say, what do we have to say to them in whatever medium it is in order for them to gently move to the next stage? Because what you're in the business of doing is putting people through this process where they're going through a process and they're actually enjoying the process. And they love to talk to you. When they're done talking to you, they say, oh, thanks for calling. I feel so much better. How many of you have ever had that experience before? And that's what you want to have, is every time they talk to you or read any communication, they go, oh, I'm so delighted that I've had that communication. And it was your words that did that. And so what we're going to work on today is taking people through those processes there. And so one of the things that we'll concentrate on is 3 different sets of language. One is all around the concept of referral. Would y'all say the word referral? Come on, everyone say it again. Okay, now I'll ask you to say things out loud, just because when you say the word out loud, it actually goes from short-term to long-term. There's a myelinization process that happens when you speak it. The neural connection, the synapses connect, and neurons that fire together start to wire together. So if you want to remember something, as soon as you learn it, say it out loud, and it actually transfers over to long-term memory. So if you read a book and you want to remember a passage from the book, as soon as you're done reading it, turn to whoever's near you and just say, hey, let me just share with you real quick what I just read. And as soon as you do that, you actually will remember it for much longer than if you just try to hold it in memory on your own without expressing that. So one of the concepts we'll work with is new ways to describe what you want. So the word referral, if you think of the word referral, how many of you like referrals? How many of you like that? What do you like about referrals? What's important about that to you? Makes you money, yeah. And I imagine most of your business either comes directly or indirectly from referrals. Say yes? Yeah, most of the business that you really love to work with, the people will come to you and say, hey, listen, a friend of mine bought a house, or I was told to look at your website, and I checked it out the other day, and I'd like to get together with you. There's a sense of you go, oh, yeah, I feel more purposeful. I like that, as opposed to somebody calling off of one of your ads going, I just want to know, give me information. Well, what's your name? I don't want to give it to you. How many of you have ever had one of those? Yeah, and you're going like, well, what am I in this business for? You feel less purposeful when you're working with people who don't trust you. Say yes? Okay, so referrals are an important part of who we want to be. Our purpose is to create experience for people so they tell other people about us. That's our purpose. The reason you got into business was so people would tell other people about the experience of working with you. It's how Disney built an empire. He said people go to the theme park, they enjoy it so much, they go home, tell somebody about it, and bring them back. That's what you're in the business of doing. So even if you can just get that thought, speak to your purpose. Even if you said to people right when you met them, my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you'd gladly introduce me to the people that you care about. Even before I help you buy your house, even before I help you sell a house. Like, speak directly to it. Because I think most of us don't even talk about what's important to us until it's after the fact. Like, in the transaction, if you happen to know of anybody, let me know. But it's the most important part of your whole business. Why not introduce yourself that way? Hi, my name's Joe Stump, and my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you today that you would gladly tell other agents and lenders and people that you really care about what you've learned here today. That would be my purpose. So let's get started. And so I would want to speak to that. So we're going to work with that concept around referrals right at the beginning, and then I'll take it up another level. We'll talk about a little bit about overcoming objections, and then we'll talk about negotiating agreements. So we'll take different levels of language skills. But the first thing is get rid of the word referral. Just get rid of that word forever and replace it with the word introduction or introduce. So would you all say introduce? Introduce. 3 times real fast. Okay, so you would say to somebody, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend or a family member or somebody that you really care about, and they mention that they want to buy a new house or they want to sell their home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? That's very different than, if you know anybody who wants to buy a house, would you refer them to me? Because refer is what you get, introduce is what they do. And so speak to the behavior, not your slang, which is, I love referrals, which is the outcome you want, versus the action you would want them to do with a person that they care about. And most people will introduce you to the people that they care about if they respect you. So speak to that. Speak to the fact that what you want people to do is to introduce you to the people that you really care about who need help. Now, that other word, help. Would you all say help? 3 times real fast. Okay, good. Now, replace the word service. Let the word service go. And whenever you're about to say service, stop and say help. Help assigns a role to a person. It puts them in the position that they now rescue someone. And people want to go to that role with the people that they love. So when you say to somebody, if you have a friend or a family member who needs help, maybe they owe more on their home than it's worth and they just don't know what to do, go ahead and feel comfortable introducing them to me. That's very different than if you know anybody who could use some service. Have them call me, I'll service them. Maybe that wouldn't work, but you get the point. So those are 2 simple words, like help and introduce versus service and referral. How many of you can hear the wisdom in that? So from this moment forward, whenever you're about to send a text message and you're going to write down the word referral, stop and say, how can I say that with the word introduce? Instead of saying the word service, stop and say, how can I use the word help instead? And you'll see what you're doing is you're now talking about them versus talking about you. Because the word service is about you, help is about them. Refer is about you, introduce is about them. So those are simple, basic concepts. Now take it, I'm going to show you some patterns now, and you'll see that those words get woven in and other words will get woven in. But for example, if somebody stopped you either knowing you know them or they are somebody that you're meeting for the very first time, and they ask you a simple question like, how's the market? How's the market? How many of you have ever been asked that question? That was like, we were at dinner last night, and hey, how is the market? How is the market? So let's think about what we want to have occur when we open up our mouth. So we're about to speak to that question. Somebody says, how's the market? And NLP is understanding that as soon as you open up your mouth and you start talking, the person starts to create pictures and images from the thoughts that you have created with your words, and then that produces a feeling, an emotion, energy, emotion, which creates an action. And it happens instantaneously. Thought, feel, act. And so here you are going to answer their question. How's the market? Now you're going to go back and you're going to say, what I said created this behavior. So when you're done talking, what do you want to have happen? Somebody says, how's the market? What do you want to have happen when you're done talking? So just check in with the person next to you. Just role play it once. The person with the shortest hair goes first. Just ask the person next to you with the longer hair. Just say, hey, how's the market? And then see how they respond. How's the market? Terrible. I'm excited now. Okay. All right, come on back. All right, come on back. Now watch. How many of you think your partner needs a little help in this area? Okay. Good. All right. So watch. Now again, in the 12-step tradition, if you're familiar with any of the 12-step programs, there's a little saying that says contempt prior to investigation is the reason most people fail. To say something won't work and you didn't even do it is the reason most people fail. So be conscious. I'm about to show you something that you don't know. It's a linguistic pattern that creates an outcome that you want. And so go out and do it 25 times before you say to me it doesn't work, or before you pass judgment, or before you go to, oh, I know. So, and some people, they just get new ideas and they go, this won't work. And you're not that. That's not who you guys are. Say yes? Okay, good. So what? So here's what it is. How's the market? Experience shows it all depends where you live. Now, notice what happens with those words. Experience shows. Not my experience, just experience. As soon as you say the word my, people stop listening because you're talking about you. And the suggestion I'm making right now, and Milton Erickson would say, when you first open up your mouth, start talking about them before you talk about you. It's like a keto. They throw, and you let their energy create the next step. And so, hey, how's the market? Experience shows it depends where you live. Now, everyone say, where you live. Now, turn to the person next to you and say that, but say it like a question. But don't put the in there. Just put it, just with those three words, where you live. Say it like a question. Where you live. Where you live. Now, you know you've delivered it and executed when they tell you where they live. So I'm standing in Starbucks, and there's a young lady standing in front of me, and I like casual conversation, so I said to her, so what do you do for a living? She turns to me, she goes, oh, I'm in real estate. I go, oh, you're lucky day. I'm the right guy to be in back of here. And I said to her, so how's the market? And she goes, oh, it's picking up. It's picking up. And I started thinking, what is she talking about? What do you think she was talking about? She's talking about her income. She's talking about her world. And there's something that I learned from a guy named John Miller who wrote a book called QBQ, worth getting on your reading list. QBQ, it's called Question Behind the Question. And what he's suggesting is every time somebody asks a question, there's really a question behind that question. And if you can talk to the question behind the question, you're going to have more action as a result of your answer. So when somebody says, how's the market? You say, what they're really asking is, how's their market? So that's what, but they don't know how to say that. They don't say, hey, how's my market? They go, hey, how's the market? And so if you talk to how's their market, you'll respond differently. So you'd say, well, experience shows it depends where you live. And watch people go, oh, I'm over on Hiawatha Street, or I live over in Tucson, or I live in Scottsdale. And then you would say, what I'd love to do, and the word love is magic, because people don't want to deny giving you what you love. And there's something about enthusiasm. When you say, oh, what I'd love to do for you, it's hard for somebody to say, well, no, I don't want to give you that experience, So what I'd love to do for you is a little bit of research. I can send you an email that will tell you what homes are for sale right now, what homes have sold recently, how long homes are taking to sell in your neighborhood, and so you can feel real secure in the knowledge that you have the most accurate information, and this timely information will tell you right away how your market is. I imagine that information would be of value to you. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in that. If you can get just the music to it of this is, how's the market? Well, experience shows it depends where you live. Well, I live over in the Scottsdale area. Gosh, what I'd love to do for you is do a little bit of research, and I can compile some data, find out what homes are selling right now in your neighborhood, how long they're taking to sell, what the list prices to the sales price ratio is, and I could deliver it. I could text you a link, or I could write you a note card, or I can just send you to a website. I'll get you the data. Would that be of value to you? And what if, just what if, 1 out of every 10, 15 times, somebody said, yeah, that would be great. And then maybe every 2 or 3 people you put onto an email list, it resulted in 1 transaction. You would probably be more excited when somebody would say, how's the market? Say yes? Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you guys ever get an opportunity to stand up in a public forum and you only have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, the very best way to introduce yourself in 30 seconds is, hi, my name is Joe Stump. I'm a real estate consultant. And the most common question people ask me is, how's the market? And the best way I can answer that is, experience shows it depends where you live. At the break, come over and tell me where you live, and I'll tell you what your market's like. Thank you. And you'll have more people come over to you at the break and tell you where they live. Because you're not introducing you, you're offering them something that's of value to them. Does that make sense, Joel? And so if I only had 30 seconds, to introduce myself, what I want at the end of the 30 seconds is people to come to me. That's the outcome I want when I'm done speaking. So always speak to what you want them to do when you're done talking. And I don't know how much thought you've given to that in the past, but that's what magic words are about. It's about thinking before you engage. So that's an example. Now, another pattern would be when somebody says, how's business? Now, how's business is a different question. How's business? Just check with the person next to you. How would you respond to that? How's business? You'd say, what time you have? What time is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Caribbean time, so I have 2:30.
What time do you have?
Oh.
What time? 11:34. Would you tell me when it's 5 to 12? Okay, good. All right, come on back. Shh, good. All right, watch. So look up here. In addition to what you're already saying, here's another alternative. This might sound like this. Things are going well. Things are going well. And isn't it nice to know that I do have time for you, your family, your friends, and anyone else you know and like who could use my help right now? Now, again, how's business? It's not about you. There's a QBQ. And the QBQ behind how's business is, do you have time? That's the unspoken question. So some of us look so busy. And what we're telegraphing to the universe is, I don't have time for you. I'm just too busy. So you'll notice that, and some of you in the room right now, some very, very accomplished people, that you get your success because people feel like they are your only client. And you don't send off that vibe that says, I am so busy, which tells people, I don't even know if you got time for me. At an unconscious place. This is not even at the conscious level. This is like they almost feel like they're putting you off if they call you. And I know how busy you are. Which means I'm not telling the people I really love about you because I know how busy you are. So when you say, "How's business?" and you go, "It's going well. It's going well." Would you all say that? It's going well. Yeah, and that's just a beautiful landing page for all of you. It's going well. Charge neutral, like real neutral, not up, oh, it's going well. Because the tone says, I'm trying to convince you. So, oh, it's going well. Like just charge, it's going well. And then the magic is in the word and. Because after the word and, something very magical happens. And produces listening. But causes people to stop listening and to think what you just said. So when you go, it's going well, but what that causes the mind to do is go in reverse and say, is it really going well? But if you go, it's going well, and pushes it forward, and it's important you know that I do have time. I got time for your friends, I got time for family members, anyone else you know and like who could use my help right now. And watch what happens. It shifts completely in that direction. It just turns towards them. And it's a beautiful way to step into a really neat conversation. You can even say, I'm curious. The words, I'm curious, I'm wondering, that's called a softener. But you got to really be curious. I'm really curious. Who do you know who would love to own their own home? Because when you introduce them to me, they can better understand what their best options are in today's marketplace. See, the secret when you're asking people to introduce people to you, it's the benefit they get when they meet you. It's not because of you. If my daughter, I have a 24-year-old daughter, Tracy, and if she was going to buy a piece of real estate, I would introduce her to a person I deeply respect. because I want her to know what her best options are. I don't want her to know what your opinion is. I want her to know what her best options are. Are you following me on this? And so when you say to somebody, if you have a friend or a family member who could use some help, why don't you introduce them to me, and then I'll share with them what their options are. And when they're done sharing with me, they'll know what their best options are in today's marketplace. That is real inviting for me to pass that on to somebody that I care about, as opposed to, hey, if you know anybody who wants to buy a house, I'm probably the best agent in town. I'll take care of them, you bet. Which is all self-serving. It's all about you. And it's not inviting to me to bring the people I love to you that way. So how many can see the wisdom in that? Can you see some of that? Okay, good. So I'll take it up another notch. So there's words, there's really cool words in the English language. There's like 11 or 12 and maybe a dozen really powerful implosion words. And one of them is the word secret. Secret. It's a very powerful word, secret. Would you all say it? Yeah, and if you look at the real estate that's on the cover of magazines, go to Barnes & Noble and look at all the magazines there, you'll find the word secret appears 75% of the time. Now, this is expensive real estate. You go to Cosmopolitan and all those periodicals that, Men's Life, all those magazines, they have to find the exact words to get you to open that thing up, and secret is one of the 12 words that appears on all 75% of them all the time. So what that tells me is that there's a lot of things happening neurology-wise when you hear the word secret. Even when somebody says to you, hey, listen, I got a secret. It's insatiable. You go, what is it? You go, I'll tell you later. No, tell me now. So when you say to somebody, hey, please, don't keep me a secret, it causes a pattern interrupt where the brain goes, well, what do you mean? Why do you think I'm doing that? And then you could just gently say to them, well, I just want you to know that when you have a friend or a family member, somebody that you really care about needs help, feel comfortable introducing them to me. Oh, yeah, of course I will. And you just were able to plant a nice little nice little seed. Or if you get really good at this, you say to somebody, hey, please, don't keep me a secret. And they go, oh, no, I tell people about you all the time. And if they've never told anyone about you, you say, all the time? When's the last time? And you can kind of play with them a little bit, But the word secret, would y'all say secret? Yeah, say it again? Yeah, and I would suggest that you stop even using the word listing presentation or buyer presentation, because that's our language, and change it to the secrets to getting your home sold in today's economy. The 7 secrets to buying a $10 million home that very few people are aware of. And just the word secret pulls me in. I don't even have control of it. My brain has to know. The best-selling personal development book of all times was The Secret. And what they were teaching was not a secret. But they found the words that created me to say, I'll buy it, because I want to know. I don't want to be the only one who doesn't know the secret. So I need to have that book. And that's very powerful marketing. So here, try this. Turn to the person next to you in your sexiest voice. Say, don't keep me a secret. Okay, come on back. All right, what word just imploded in your brain? Boy, that's another word, isn't that incredibly? I say, turn to the person next to you in your sexiest voice. Some of you go, oh, I'm not going there. Or whatever, and some of you just let loose. We tapped into the wild woman. But here's the thing, is the word sex has so much meta program around it. Like there's so much history behind it for each individual person that when you say it, the brain automatically goes into implosion. It just implodes. It's a pattern interrupt. So you could say to somebody when they say, I'm going to put my home on the market for $250,000, you go, ooh, that price is not very sexy. And they'll hear it differently than that's overpriced. Their brain will hear it. Nobody wants a house that's not sexy. Now, I'm playing with you a little bit on this, but if you get really good with this, they go, well, would 220 work? Not sexy enough. But you're getting closer. You're getting sexier. Like if you get really good with this. Now, you have to be able to dance. You dance with language. And now there's some people you just don't want to do this with. How many of you have a client that zip it with the sex? Yeah, okay. Okay, so you know who you are. I can already see some of you in the room. I've already gone too far. Okay. So that's an example of like the power that words have on our brain. Boom, they just implode. Another concept that I love is just reframing, learning how to get rid of the word commission. Commission has so much stuff attached to it that when somebody says, "What's your commission?" you even start to become defensive. Like you go, "Okay, here it comes again. They're going to cut it." Or some of us we just go, "I'm not cutting it," and you actually go into, don't even go there. As opposed to putting a new frame around it. Put a frame around it. In NLP terms, it's called reframing. And the new word would be contingency. So if somebody says, "What's your commission?" you'd say, "Well, I work on a contingent basis," which means I put up all the upfront money, all the upfront time, all the upfront energy, expertise. I pay the E&O insurance, my car expenses, my office expenses, my assistant, all the marketing, all the advertising. And only when your dream comes true do I actually get compensated. But I'll take all the risk. And in exchange for taking all the risk, you're going to give me 6% for taking all the risk. Now, you can take the risk, and I'll work on a retainer basis. And we'll just take $50,000. We'll put it into an account. I'll draw against it whether we sell your house or not. Where do you want to go? Contingency or retainer? Oh, no. We'll pay your commission. It's very powerful when you put a new frame around it. And I just like that concept of contingency because that's really what you're doing. Contingency is all risk. It's called risk removal. And always, the person who takes the biggest risk always makes the most money. The person who takes the least amount of risk has to give up the biggest portion of their equity. And that's just the way that world operates. So if you can put language to it, so you'd say to somebody, first of all, I work on a contingent basis versus a retainer basis. And that's a real good justice posing, putting those two next to each other. And then you say, which means as your consultant, your negotiator, and the person who oversees all your details, I invest all my upfront money, time to help you make your dreams come true. And only when your dream comes true, and I actually like the word dream comes true versus sell a home or buy a home. That's a really nice replacement. So when I sell your home, instead of saying sell your home, stop and say when I make your dream come true. And so you're speaking to a different part of their psychology when you talk about their dream. Only when your dream comes true do I actually receive compensation. Then, of course, the second way you compensate me is in the form of recommendations and introductions to the friends, family members, and neighbors that you really care about, which is another way of planting another little suggestion there, just making, hey, so I'm going to put all my energy and time working on a contingent basis for you to make your dream come true. And so I hope you respect that. And during the process, you'll probably notice people who could use my help. And just know that when you introduce them to me, I can spend more time on your dream than out looking for other people. And just that little suggestion, people's interest, self-interest, you're speaking to their interest, not your interest, which is a very powerful concept. Here's another one. And you could use this if you know anybody who is capable of introducing you to people, but they're not introducing people to you. If you have an uncle or an aunt or a cousin or an in-law or a friend, somebody in your core that has the ability to introduce people to you, but they're just not doing it. Next time you're with them, just say to them, hey, this guy named Joe Stump founded a company called By Referral Only. And what he says is when it comes to referrals, the population is divided into 3 groups. He said that 15% of the people will refer me without me even asking. Another 15% won't refer me because they don't promote under any circumstances. And 70% of the people will refer me if I ask them in an intelligent way. Uncle Bob, I was wondering, what group do you think you fall into? It's a wonderful question. Now, it might sound like this in real life. You might say, hey, I met this guy, Joe Stump, at our convention in Southern California this weekend, and he was saying that 15% of the people, they read a book or they go to a restaurant or they see a movie and they like it, they don't tell anybody about it. They keep that to themselves. And then 15% of the population, if they see a movie or go to a restaurant or they have an experience that they really like, just put that anywhere, they'll tell everybody about it. They'll go around telling everybody about it. But 70% of the people won't introduce a restaurant or a movie or a book or anything unless somebody asks them, hey, got a good book to read? What movie have you seen lately? What restaurant would you recommend? But they'll gladly endorse if they're asked. And I was wondering, Uncle Bob, what group do you think you fall into? Well, if you ask me, if you need a book or a movie or anything, you ask me. Well, what I did want to ask you was this. The next time you're in a conversation with a really close friend or somebody that you really respect and like, and they mention that they want to get some advice or some help on buying their home or selling a home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Would you do that? Well, of course I would. And what you did is you used this question as a gateway to have that conversation. And I think most people are uncomfortable having the conversation without having some context for it. Does that make sense to y'all? So I just want you to have like a bucket full of language, since the purpose of your business is referral. See, we walk around saying, I want referrals, but only in marriage are you required to read minds. You got it, all right? Now here's a basic method of asking. This is a real simple way. This is something all of you could do the next time you're in a dialogue with somebody that is being influenced by you. You'd say, who's the next person you know that's most likely, and then fill in the blank, to buy their first home, or whatever you're looking for. Who's the next person you know that's most likely to sell their vacation property? Who's the next person you know that's most likely to want to, and put whatever specific you want in there. And then the command is, I know you know someone. That's called an embedded command. When you say, I know you know someone, I know you know someone. Would you all say that? Now tell me it. Now say it like really clear, like you know I know somebody. And now that goes into my brain and down a neural pathway saying, if you know I know someone, I must know someone. So when you say that, now watch. As you scan, as you continue scanning through all the people that you know who need my help, who comes to mind first? That who comes to mind first is such a powerful question. It causes the brain to actually cue somebody up, and bring them up. And it's very powerful. So for example, how many of you are learning something new and exciting here today? How many of you got something that you like? Come on, raise your hands. Let's see if you turn to the person next to you and say, I didn't raise my hand, but I should have. Now, let's say, raise your hand. How many of you learned something that you could use? Okay, good. Now, how many of you in your mind right now know that there's somebody that you care about, another agent, maybe a lender, or somebody in your center of influence, that would value from this conversation? I know you know someone. I know you know at least one person. Say yes? Okay, see, I just did it to you. And so as you're scanning through all the people that you're thinking about right now, I wonder who comes to mind first. Now, notice what's happening in your brain right now. Even if you don't want to do this, you're still doing it. Because I've taken over the controls of your thinking. I'm just inside your head playing with the control right now. And you're like, how did he do that? It's magic. And when you say to a person, hey, Bob, Susan, yeah, are you delighted with the help that I've been given you? Oh, yeah, you've really done a great job for us. Well, I'm curious. Who's the next person you know that's most likely to do what you guys just did? You just bought this beautiful home in this beautiful neighborhood, and I know you know somebody. I know you know somebody who wants to do what you guys are doing. I know you do. And as you're kind of scanning through your head right now who that person might be, I'm curious, who comes to mind first? And watch what happens. It's an intelligent, articulate way to evoke or encourage a person to find somebody. The mistake that most of us make is we ask in a way that people can't find. We say, hey, if you know anybody, would you send them my way? Just the word if is permission to be silent. Okay, if I do, I'll let you know. And that's the worst thing you could ever hear from somebody. If I do, I'll let you know. Because what they're saying is, don't ask me again. That's the way we interpret it. Then we say 4 years later, well, I asked them 4 years ago. They didn't know anybody. And that always is that filter for our future relationship. So that's a great concept there. Now, this is the money card. This is the one that will make you the most money. Out of everything I teach, if you can get this one down, really integrated deep into your consciousness, when somebody says, my dad or my mom is thinking about moving, what you say next determines a lot of what's going to occur. Because a lot of people are asking for a referral versus asking for an introduction. So when somebody says, hey, my mom's thinking about moving, your response would be, would you be comfortable telling your mom about me? Get compliance with that first. The mistake that most people make is, hey, my mom's thinking about moving. Oh, really? Would you give her my card and have her call me? I really could use the deal. You know, like you make that, or it feels like I don't want my mom to go near you because you feel like you smell like commission. You know, like it's not a good feeling. So, hey, my mom's thinking about moving. Well, gosh, that's great. Would you be comfortable telling your mom about me? Oh, of course I would, Joe. I'd tell her about you. Now, I know that telling your mom is the easy part. I also know that getting me and your mom into a conversation, that's the hard part. Now that is magic right there, because what you're doing is you're evoking a challenge, and what you'll find is most people will say, no, it's not. No, it's not. I can get her to talk to you. And then she's making the suggestion. Now if that doesn't occur, then you just say, I'm curious, what do you think is the best way to make sure that your mom and I get into a conversation very soon? Now, I've had literally thousands, not thousands, maybe a couple hundred people in one way or another over the years have said to me how this card has made them money. And my friend Todd Walsh was talking about this, that he walked into his attorney's office, and his attorney said to him, hey, my brother's moving. I told him about you. Did he call you yet? And he said, no, I haven't heard from your brother yet. And he's about to walk out, and he remembers, okay, this is the 2 of spades. And he turns to him and goes, you know what? Do you really want me to help your brother? Do you really want me to help your brother? He goes, yeah, of course I do. Well, you know, the easy part's just telling him about me. The hard part's getting the 2 of us into a conversation. And the guy goes, no, it's not. Hang on a minute. Dials up the phone, says, brother, I'm here with Todd. Why haven't you talked to him? Hands Todd the phone. Todd gets on the phone, sets up the appointment, goes and gets the listing, makes whatever he makes. It would never happen. Because everyone knows 3 or 4 real estate agents. And when somebody enters into the process of either buying or selling or borrowing, everyone they meet happens to be a real estate agent. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, and so when you are at the point where somebody says, hey, my mom's thinking about moving or my dad's thinking about moving, your number one goal is get into conversation, not give business card and ask them to call. Because in that period right there is when they're most vulnerable or most susceptible to meet other people, because their reticular activator is on and they're actually giving off some scent that they're ready to sell a house. There's something happening when people move into that. It's all part of what we notice. When we're interested in buying a home, we notice everyone who's a real estate agent. Or we see signs everywhere. How many of you know what I'm talking about? And when we're not, nobody's an agent. I don't see anything around real estate. So just know, if mom's thinking about moving, mom is actively moving towards some agent, so you want to, as quickly as possible, get into conversation and make a decision after conversation. But the worst thing to happen is you see somebody 3 weeks later, hey, how's your mom doing? I haven't heard from her yet. I gave you her card. Oh, she didn't call you? No. Oh, she's working with somebody over there at Century 21. What? You're kidding. How many of you ever had anything like that happen? And you're like, what happened? And what happened was, at that moment, when it counted most, you didn't have language. When it counted most. That's why I say it's the money card. Now, yeah, well, you know, all of this would translate email is just a slow conversation. That's all it is. Email is they write, you write back. They write, you write. It's a slow conversation. It's a conversation with time in between. You know, that's all email is. And so all of this can be translated that way. Okay, good. Thank you. So let me just show you this. This is a really important concept here. Would you just turn to the person next to you real quick and just pay him a really nice compliment? Give him the nicest compliment you can come up with. Yeah. Okay, now, come on back. Now notice, there's different ways that we receive. There's different ways we receive compliments. So if somebody says to you, hey, you really look nice, I like your outfit, we all would say, oh, thank you. Or, really, this whole thing? Or you really know what to do with that. So when somebody pays you a nice compliment, what you're really encouraging is more of it. So somebody says, bro, I like that shirt, looks good in those pants. And you go, really? Say more about that. Now, that's maybe not the most subtle way to do it, but here's what most of us do, is when somebody says, hey, you've done a really good job for me, thank you so much, our reflex is no problem. It's kind of, oh, don't mention it. It's okay, cool. Like we go to, it's okay. But here's the point. When somebody delivers you a compliment, they're in a state called joy. They've moved into gratitude, especially a client you've done something for them in the transaction that's really big, like loan got approved or some conditions were removed, and you call up and say, hey, I just want to let you know that loan's been approved for your buyer, and we're going to go ahead, and they go, oh, thank you so much. It's that moment. It is such a crucial moment in your business because, as Dr. Cialdini says, it's the moment of reciprocity. So if we were to put a heart monitor on people during the process and we were to look at where are they emotionally, when people are up in this joy area, this moment right here, that's a referral moment. You do not want to talk about referrals when they're down here, when they're in fear and anxiety and things are going bad. You don't ever want to say to somebody, I can feel your disappointment, and I know you have friends and family members you'd like to do this to. You know? But you do want to call somebody up and say, hey, I wanted to just get you filled in on what's going on with the loan. As I told you, I've been working with a couple of different appraisers. I've been working with some of the underwriters. I probably have made 150 phone calls, it seems like, in text messages and all types of communications. And I've got some news for you about the loan. Are you prepared? And they go, yes. Now, that's called setting up the process. Don't deliver the goods until you tell them the work you did. If you just deliver the outcome, they don't appreciate the work. So give the backstory, and this has more value. And you say, and here, as a result of maybe 35 phone calls and about 10 or 12 texts and maybe 8 or 9 hours working on this, your loan's approved. And watch what happens. Oh, yeah. Joy goes up high. That's the moment right there. Ding, 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 ding. You say to yourself, referral moment, referral moment, referral moment. This is it, this is it, this is it. Because the person who receives a favor remembers it while they're receiving it. The person who delivers it remembers it forever. You lend somebody your lawnmower, they remember it while they cut their grass, but you remember forever you lent them their lawnmower. The person who receives this right now, they go, oh, great, 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 great. As soon as you hang up the phone, they forget. It just lasts a little moment, just a moment. It's a little referral moment. And that's why we want to be able to step boldly into this right now. So when they say, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, this is the moment. Because when you hang up the phone, they go back here. So what do you say in that moment? You've earned it. You've worked hard for this moment. And so you think about that. Here's some suggested language. You might say to them, my pleasure. Then your name's, the CN is the client's name. You say, Bob, you do the same for me. That's so powerful, those words. You do the same for me. You do the same for me. Would you all say that? Yeah, it's called, it's a reciprocity statement. Dr. Robert Cialdini, who's in Scottsdale. You guys know Robert Cialdini. He's Scottsdale, Arizona. He teaches at the University of, what's in Scottsdale? Is it Arizona? Is it U of A? Arizona State. He's at Arizona State in Scottsdale, and he's the most cited social scientist ever. He wrote a book called Influence. You must have it in your library. It is one of the most important books ever written. It was written about 30 years ago, but it teaches the 7 weapons of influence. And you guys are purely in the influence business. There's nothing more influential than you do. And as real estate consultants, it's an extraordinary book. And Cialdini talks about this statement called, you do the same for me. In this moment where people are feeling joyful, they will always respond, I'll do anything for you. I'd do anything for you. Because it's their way of giving back without giving anything. So they're giving future promise. They're giving a future thing, oh yeah, I'd do anything for you. And what you want to say is, that's just what I wanted to hear. And then you can come back and say something like, well, you can always count on me, and I know I can always count on you to introduce me to the people that you care about because you want your family and your friends to get the very best advice when it's time to buy, sell, or borrow, don't you? And watch what happens. It's just magical. As a matter of fact, a lot of the people I coach today keep this as a screensaver on their computer. And so when they're about to make a phone call, what they say is, I need to get into this state where they're really feeling really good, so let me get the backstory first. Let me talk about all the stuff I've done that I'm going to deliver. And when they go, oh, good, boom, I'm pulling up my screen. Because if I don't do this, I've got to spend money on advertising. How many of you would rather stand in a cold shower and rip up $10 bills than cold call? Well, here's the choice. Either learn this or start cold calling. Because I find that people who lack language have to do a ton of prospecting. But people who really have strong language, every time they open up their mouth, they speak to their purpose. Very powerful. So I'm going to teach you, in this time that's remaining, I'm going to give you one of the most important skills I've ever learned, and that is discovering your client's hot words. You get a clean piece of paper on this, because this might be one of the most important lessons you'll ever get that you may already know, but I'll take it to another level for you. And just on the top of that page, write down the word hot words. Hot words. And hot words are your client's words, not your words. They're your client's words. And what you're looking for when you go into relationship is, what are your clients' hot words? Hot words are words that have meta-program. Meta-program is the story behind the story behind the story behind the story that you don't need to know. All you need to know is the words. And every time you say the word, what it does is it triggers the meta-program. And so what you want to do is in the first 15 minutes of meeting anybody is discover what their dozen hot words are. And then every time you speak, you use their words. Every time you write an email, you embed their words. Every time you write a text message, you embed their words. Every time you write a letter, you embed their words. Whenever you're in a difficult situation, you want them to move quickly, use their words. And people ask me, what's the best technique you could teach me around NLP? I'd say, find your client's hot words and then learn to become skillful weaving them in to every language pattern. So I'll show you how to do both of them, but let me just show you first how to get somebody's hot words, and we'll role play it out a little bit, and I'll show you how to do this. So hot words, all right? Now, I think the best way for me to do this in this size group here is I'm going to actually just, I'm going to demonstrate it, all right? I'll demonstrate it real quick. I'd like to work with one person who's never seen me do this before, so this would be the first time you're seeing it. And I'm looking for somebody who's courageous, bold, smart, intelligent, somebody who really cares about other people, somebody who has the courage to stand up and take a... Oh, there you go. I knew I would... Jimbo. I'm going to work with this young lady right here. Would you stand up? Something happened for the rest of you when I asked you to stand up. Most of you chickened out. Most of you went into fear. You started to tell yourself a story about standing up. Some of you started to look away from me like you didn't want me to see you. But you stood up.
I did.
I love that.
Okay.
How do I spell your name?
Elizabeth.
Okay, just like it sounds. All right. Okay. So Elizabeth, would you turn towards me? And I'm going to ask you to just answer these questions that I'm going to give you. You're just going to give me 1 or 2 word answers to this. All right. So I'm going to ask you, it's going to sound like the same question over and over again. So it may feel a little bit redundant, but just bear with me while we get into the flow of this. So I'm going to write down 7, and you guys want to model this. Put this on your paper. Put 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just put that on your page like that. So Elizabeth, is being successful important to you?
Yes.
Okay, good. Would you move that a little closer?
Yes.
So just think the first word that comes to mind. What's important about success to you?
Relationships.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to write down the word relationship. And as you're thinking about relationship, because it means different things to different people, what's important about relationship to you?
Connectedness.
I love that, connectedness. Okay, connectedness. All right, so here's what I know about you that I didn't know about you before we started. That success is important to you because it helps create relationships, which gives you connectedness, which is important to you. And what's important about connectedness to you?
What's important about connectedness?
Now, I want you to notice
Feeling a part of.
Feeling a part of what?
Feeling a part of.
Feeling a part of. Thank you for looking so clearly for that. What I noticed is that you got quiet and you went in and you found truth as opposed to just speaking from the top of your head. You went down a little bit and you found something and you said, feeling a part of. How many of you felt that? That she felt there was some deeper truth in that. More truth here than here. This is true, but this is even truer. Yeah. So feeling a part of is important to you. So what's important about feeling a part of to you?
What's important about feeling a part of?
You're doing great.
Acceptance.
There we go. We'll just stop right there. We'll just put
Okay.
acceptance there because that's good. So here's what I know about you that I didn't know, Elizabeth, before you stood up, was that success is important to you because it gives you a sense of relationship, which leads to connectedness. And connectedness is when you're feeling part of, and that part of gives you a sense of acceptance.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I know these are important. I don't know why, but I imagine there's a story behind all of it. And the story is not nearly as important to me right now as it is to you. But now that I know, and all my communication from now on, what I'm going to use is the words relationship, connectedness, acceptance, feeling a part of. Are you following me on this? I'm going to start to weave that in because out of all the words in the English language, she's chosen these and she's looking deeply for these. What's really important? These are called value-based questions. I'm finding what's valuable to you. And I really don't know you until I know these answers. And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you know about them. And so let's take it one more level. And you're doing great. You're doing great. But I'm going to take it up into some deeper truth with you right now. We call this your 5, your 6, and your 7. All right? So when you say acceptance, what's important about acceptance to you?
Being part of the whole.
Okay, I like that. Notice her word, being part of the whole. Very good. Being part of the whole. So what we know about Elizabeth is relationship is connectedness. It gives her a sense of feeling like she's part of, which she has a sense of acceptance, which makes her part of the whole. This is your story.
Certainly.
I love your story. How many of you like your story? She's doing good. Yeah, you're doing really good. You're doing great. All right? Just obviously you can see where we're headed with this. We've got 2 more to go.
And I can't wait until it's over.
But you know what? But when's the last time?
TMI, huh?
Yeah. Well, maybe not.
No,
I mean,
it's
you know what?
okay.
It would only be TMI right now because you got a couple hundred people in the room looking at you. But if you and I were just sitting across the table from you and I was asking you these questions, it would be a little bit of a soul sorting process.
It would be fine.
Yeah, because it's all about you.
Absolutely.
When's the last time you've gotten this kind of attention? Like all about you?
You know, it's been a while.
I'll bet.
I'm liking it.
I know, it feels good, doesn't it? Yeah. And I'll tell you, most people, when they sit down with a client, they talk all about them as opposed to saying, hey, before we even get started, what's important about buying a house to you? Yeah. And I'm going to ask you 7 times. It's going to feel a little bit redundant, but what I just need to do is find out what are the words that are really crucial to you. And watch how interested people are in you when you're really interested in them. And the first 4 are a little awkward. And notice what's happening. She's slowing down a little bit as we get a little higher because she's looking for more truth. And notice how uncomfortable you get with the silence. And remember what I said earlier? Become comfortable while people are a little uncomfortable. And you'll have more of a relationship. You have to risk the relationship to have it. And so what's important about being part of the whole to you?
This is a hard one. It's like nothing's coming.
Did you want to use a lifeline?
Yes, I'd like a lifeline. Thank you.
But just here, if you just go, move from your head just right quickly, there's a blink to that instantly. There's something, whatever that is, without that filter. What's important about being part of the whole to you? And the answer is?
It has something to do with being loved.
There you
I don't
go.
know that that's
Imagine
number 6,
that.
You know.
Imagine it has something about being loved. Oh, that's so true, you know? It's so true. It's like the more truth that we have, the harder it is usually to find. You know, we have to sort. It's called soul sorting. The soul is sorting for something deeper because it knows if it doesn't tell the truth, there's a thin clank of the unauthentic. Yeah. And did you hear all of her say, oh, it has something to do with being loved? Like it's a throwaway, you know? But that's not really that important to me, Joe. Let's see. You're doing great. Okay. And then, of course, the last one, and what's important about being loved to you?
It should seem simple, right? That's what life's about.
Whose life's about?
That's what my life's about.
Amen. Amen. It's what my life's all about. It's what my life is all about. I love that. So, Elizabeth, here's what I know about you. Success means being part of the whole, experiencing being loved, so you can have a version of you that your life is all about. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also like money.
Yeah, sure. Of course. Of course, but isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that comes up last? It's not even really, it wasn't. You didn't go to money first.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? It's like this is intrinsic. Money is the vehicle to get, and it may or may not be. How many times have you met people who didn't feel loved, had a lot of money? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but of course you like money. Of course you do. That's cool. Now, what I would love you to do is just understand this is your language. So if I'm going to introduce you to one of my products, like this is a product I have, and it's called Magic Words That get referrals, remove resistance, all these languages, about 50 language patterns right here. And we've just renamed it. We've just put a new name on the package right here. The new name of the program is called The Program That Will Help You Be Part of the Whole While You're Loving Yourself and Being Loved and Being Part of All of Life. That's what we call our new program.
Let me have it.
There you go. Yeah, of course you do. It's only $99, but it will help you get relationship, be connected, feel like you're part of, and you'll have a great sense of acceptance when you're purchasing this.
Yeah.
You feeling being loved right now?
No, I'm not feeling the love completely.
You're not feeling the love completely? So
I hear you.
You got what I'm saying? So
Yes.
like if you were going to ask for a price reduction, what you'd say to somebody is, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, and if this is their 5, 6, and 7, if really selling your home is really about experiencing a greater level of relationship and connectedness and really experiencing being loved and feeling a bigger part of the whole, I'm going to suggest that we put the home on the market for this amount. Always put your advice wrapped inside somebody's 5, 6, and 7. Always take whatever advice you're going to give and wrap it inside what's important to them. Now, this is a skill that you develop over time, but when you sit with somebody, you say, so what's important about buying a home? And they go, we just want something bigger. Well, what's important about something bigger? They go, well, we want to have 4 bedrooms instead of 3 bedrooms. Oh, okay, so help me understand. What's important about 4 bedrooms? My oldest son needs his old room. Oh, so what's important about your oldest son having his own room? Well, he's going to go to college and he's sharing a room with his little brothers right now, and he needs him more private time to do his study. Now, that is so different than a bigger home. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to y'all? Yeah, and then you say, so help me, because I don't have a son. So tell me about getting your kid into college and what's important about that. Oh, mom and dad left him money, and he's going to be the first boy in the family to go to college, and we really want to make that come true. That's the conversation that's happening at the dinner table that you're not privy to now. And so when you're out looking at homes, you're not showing them homes with 4 bedrooms. You're looking at the home going, now, is this room going to be the type of room where your son's going to have the peace and the quiet, so he'll get the grades to get into the college, so he can use the money that mom and dad left to be the first kids in the family to go to college? And they go, yeah, I think this is it. Now you're speaking their words as opposed to selling them a house. And now how do the best get better? You guys are really good at what you're doing right now. If you want to take it up another notch, master what I call is the 5, 6, and 7. Master this. It's an extraordinary skill. And you'll learn how to do it conversationally. You won't have to write all this down. You'll just learn that not until people share their 5, 6, and 7 with you do you really know the deepest truth. And sometimes you can do it in 15 minutes, and sometimes it takes 15 days. Mm-hmm. And sometimes some of you are in relationships with people, and it's going on the 15th year, and you don't even know it. So thank you so much. Would you give her a nice hand for playing? Thank you. Excellent. Good. So. Okay, would you turn to the person next to you and just tell them, what did you learn from that? What was the aha or the uh-oh, or what's the insight that you got from that? Yeah. Oops.
Sorry, Joe. 16.
Okay, good. Let me just... Okay, come on back. Good. So, about 7 years ago, I was looking to buy a home, and I called up my real estate consultant and mortgage consultant. I said, I want to move from where I am to where I want to go next. And she said to me, so what's important about buying a new home to you? And I thought, don't you do to me what I've taught you to do to others. And I invited her because I wanted to find a deeper truth. So I said to her, so what's important? And she says, so what's important? I said, well, I want to live in Cardiff by the Sea, and which is a little town down the street here from us. And I said, and she said, well, what's important about Cardiff by the Sea? And I said, well, I want to be close to my daughters so they can drive over to my home without ever getting on the freeway. Because if you're from Southern California, getting on the freeway invites all types of stuff. And she said, okay, I got it. So what's important about allowing your daughters to come over, here without getting on the freeway? I said, well, that way they can just stop by and visit me whenever they want. She goes, okay, so what's important about having them stop by whenever they want? And I said, well, I had gone through a divorce with Kathy, and it was like it got, there was a rift, between my daughters and I needed to repair that. And after we got divorced, I got remarried again, like 10 minutes after our divorce. And I got divorced 10 minutes later, And so the most embarrassing thing I ever had to do in life was to go back to my kids and say, my other marriage didn't work out. I'm sorry, Dad really messed up this time. And I made a commitment right out of that, was that I was going to make the next 10 years about being the type of man that I want my daughters to marry. And so I needed to get settled in a home where they would call it their home, not where does Dad live now. And so I moved into that. I told this to Jay, and Jay said, well, what's important about that now to you? And I said, my daughter, who at that time, Tracy was 17, just got her license. Olivia was 14 or so. Impressionable age, it's like I just had a sense that I have to step in right now and be more of the dad. I have to be present. And she said, well, what's important about that? And I said, well, I didn't get that when I was a kid. My mom and dad split up and they went their separate ways, and I don't know if they took on that responsibility, and I want to give my kids what I never got. And you got to know this. This all started from I want to sell my house. Now I'm telling Jay I want to give my kids what I never got. But this is truer. This is the deeper truth. So Jay says, okay, well, let's go find a home that's close enough to the freeway access that that you're going to stay in so the kids can come by anytime that they want, so they get a sense that Dad is permanent. They'll look at you going, boy, I want to find a man just like you, Dad, so you can give them what you never got. I go, yeah, I want that house. No, we haven't talked about 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. We haven't talked about anything. Now, this is back in 2004. You might remember the market back then. And so I'm driving around looking for a home, and I pull up in front of this house, and there it is. That's the house I want. There's no doubt about it. It's like, I know. And I call up Jay, and I say, hey, Joe, Jay, this house. And she goes, is it close enough to kids? I go, you bet it is. And she says, is it a place you really believe that you're going to be able to be that man that you want to be for your kids? I go, yeah, this is it. And she says, is it something that your mom and dad never gave you? I go, yeah, it is, Jay, it is. She goes, then let's make a full price offer to reflect exactly how important it is to you. So she took my 5, 6, and 7 and wrapped her advice inside of it. And what if I was going to say, no, I don't want to do that? And 2004 was that moment in time where we had to make full price offers. Remember those days where they were all lined up? And so wrote up the contract, builder accepted it. His name is Andy Godman, and Andy took the thing. And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, we're just to get about ready to close in about a week, then the fire broke out. Anybody remember the fires in 2004? And all the fire broke and the whole state was on fire, and Landmark Funding was doing the loan, and they called up and they said, we're going to need to do a drive-by appraisal. We're not going to fund unless we see the drive-by. And we have to close in a couple of days, or otherwise Andy's going to sell it to somebody else. And that's just the way things were back then. And they already had backup contracts that were higher than the one I was paying, more than I was paying for the house. And so Jay calls me and tells me we've got to do a drive-by appraisal. I said, okay, go for it. He said, well, here's the problem. We've got to get this done, or you're going to lose the house. I said, well, get it done. She calls me back about 2 days later, and she says, Joe, I've ordered the appraisal, got it all done, and here's what is going to happen. You are going to be in that house. There's no doubt about it. You're going to be close to those kids so they have a father that is really the man that you want them to experience in their life. So we really want you to give your kids what you never got. I go, I know, Jay, I know. She goes, well, here's the deal. You need to wire $100,000 right now to your account if you want to get that thing closed, because the appraisal came in $100,000 less. And it was like, and I had the money, so I could do that. But the thing is, she didn't give me the problem without wrapping it inside what's important to me. That's called leadership. Leadership, listen carefully, guys. Leadership is discovering, having the courage to find out what's important to people truly, and then protecting them from themselves. Because what a lot of people do is they sabotage their own success by going, oh, no, I'm not going to do $100,000, get him to reduce, and I would have lost the house. Now, the story is this, is I moved into that house, and I spent the last 2004 through 2010, last whatever that is, 6, 7 years, having a relationship with my 2 daughters. And I have the most incredible relationships with these 2 girls. I am the man. My daughter Tracy says, I want to marry a guy just like you, Daddy. You know, and my little daughter Olivia, 17 years old, she's not little, she's 6'3". I'm her man. I mean, I'm the man she wants. And it all started when I made a commitment to them that day. And I'm so grateful. Now, I just sold that house because that has happened for me, and I've just moved on. And now it's a different phase of my life. But it happened in that moment. And so I had this direct experience of what that meant when somebody was really clear on my values. They wouldn't let me get in the way. And I think that's the greatest gift you can give people. I heard it said this way, when your decisions are clear, when your values are clear, your decisions are easy. When your values are not clear, decisions become difficult. And so as an advisor, which each one of you are, the most important thing you could do for people is help them get clear on their values so they can make easier decisions. So you can actually sit down with a form like this. You can take a form like this and just say, hey, before we even get started, I just want to help you get clear on what's important to you, because I'm going to be asking you to make a series of decisions. Because you are really in the business of helping people decide. That's your role. You're a decision facilitator. People have to make a whole bunch of decisions. And you know that word decide, D-E-C-I-D-E? Look at the last 4 letters. Why do people have a tough time with deciding? What other words end in C-I-D-E? Yeah, that one too. What others? Yeah, what do they all mean? Why do we avoid? So at our neuropsychological level is when it's time to decide, I'd rather put it off. Delay, fight, battle, decide is a difficult thing to do. And you're in the business of helping people decide. So one of the most important things you'll ever do is help people get clear on their values so their decisions are easy. And whenever they're not clear on their values, decisions become very difficult. They start to, well, what do we do? What do we do? Well, if your values are clear, your decisions are easy. If your values are not clear, your decisions become very difficult. And what people do under difficult circumstances, they delay, they hesitate, they procrastinate, they fight, they battle, they over-negotiate. They get overcommitted to $10,000. They get overcommitted to $20,000. They get overcommitted to a small amount of money. How many of you know what I'm talking about here? Yeah. And then you are the one who has to intervene. And it's easier to do it right up front if you know what their magic words are. So when somebody says, I don't want anything less than $1 million for my home, you say, I know you believe your home is worth $1 million, and isn't it more important to get your 5, 6, and 7? Now, don't say 5, 6, and 7. Take your time, and isn't it more important to being part of a bigger whole so you can experience being loved, because that's what you really want out of life. Insert. And the more words you have, the easier it is for them to move into right brain. Money is left, 5, 6, and 7 is right. And if you don't move to the right brain, they get stuck in left. And there's no decisions being made. Decisions in left brain become very logical. They become very slow. They become not trustworthy. There's a lot of things that happen in that left brain. So he said, because waiting to get $1 million could cost you getting your 5, 6, and 7. And based on what you told me, your next best step would be to price it at $9.95 or $8.95 for the next 30 days so you can enjoy your 5, 6, and 7. So when you're answering a stall or an objection, if you can use their 5, 6, and 7 3 or 4 times while you're giving advice, watch how quickly they'll move off of that position. And you will be watching this, you can go, oh my gosh, that's next to magical. So how many of you can hear the wisdom in this? Yeah. So it's going to take a little practice. I'm a black belt at this. I've been studying this for 30 years. And I've got a master practitioner, so I've been working with these language skills. Remember I told you you're looking at it for the first time? And when you look at something for the first time and you're not even aware of this, the tendency is, I don't know, that would work. I don't know, that would work. But you have to go out and do it for a little while, and then you come back and go, ooh, works better than I thought it would. And then I get better at it, and I get better at it, and I get better at it, and I get better at it. And then before you know it, I don't have to work with so many people, because every time I'm working with somebody, it all goes together. And that's what I find is the best The way they get better is they don't work with more people. What they do is they optimize every situation. So there's fewer people that get away without working with them. So in the past, they'd have to work with 10 people to collect 3 commission checks. Now they still work with 10, but now they get 4 commission checks. Then they get 5 commission checks. Are you following me on this? But they don't do more. They just get better with what they have. And it's with your language. So you guys are doing great. Yeah, let me give you one more concept here, and I'm going to give away a door prize. You may have seen it parked out in front. It's what's in the trunk, yeah. That's right. Okay, so, but here's a really sweet concept for you to work with. It's called the word offer. Would you all say the word offer? Yeah. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that at the neural level, the word offer automatically carries with it counter-offer. It's near irresistible. When you say, I got an offer, the mind automatically goes to, well, if we like it, we'll accept it. If not, we'll counter-offer. So you're bringing to the conversation the word counter-offer by saying the word offer. I would invite you, just test this. People come back to me and say, it's a miracle what happens when I use this word. It's agreed to buy. Agreed to buy. Would you all say that? Agreed to buy versus offer. So you would say to somebody, the client's name, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, the Johnsons have agreed to buy your home. And Mr. and Mrs. Miller, since they've agreed to buy your home, if you choose to counteroffer, now you're telling them the negative of it. It's a little bit like saying, I want to buy my home back from the Millers for whatever amount of money you counteroffer. Now just get that thought. So it's almost like this, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, the Johnsons have agreed to buy your home. Well, how much did they offer? They've agreed to buy it for $1.6 million. Oh, no, we want 2.1. So what I hear you saying is you'd like to buy it back for 2.1? Because they have agreed to buy it for 1.6. Now, what you're doing is you're shifting the table for them to look at it from a buyer perspective versus a seller perspective. It's going to be uncomfortable for a moment. But remember what I told you earlier? Your ability to be comfortable while other people are uncomfortable is your ability to help them move off of their position. And if you feel any uncomfortableness around this, just know that that's what you want to incite, because the worst thing that can happen is you get intimidated by their discomfort, and then you go down that path and you say, okay, then it doesn't go together, and then 2 years later it sells for 1.6. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Because you weren't willing in that moment in time to say to them, you touched that, you just bought it. And if you're going to buy a home for $2.1 million, I'd like to show you what you can get for $2.1 before you buy this one, because I wouldn't pay $2.1 for this. And that's what you're about to do. Now, they've agreed to buy it. They have agreed to buy it. They own it. They own it. They own it. They've agreed to buy it. They own it. They own it. They own it. It's theirs. It's there. It's their problem now. All of it's theirs. Don't take it away from them. Now, there are times where you know you're in a negotiation, but there's a point where you know, don't touch it. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, and you need to know when that moment is and when you got to get super, super strong and make it very painful. As soon as they're touching that contract, you're going, oh, you just bought it. I hope you like it because you guys are going to live here a long time. But that's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth, and that's what is required. So you get really good when you start to use these language skills. This is a good one. So let's just say you don't accept this offer for $1.3 million. Is keeping on the market at $1.9 million, like we have for the past 13 years, going to get your 5, 6, and 7? Because I'm curious. This is such a great statement. I'm curious. In 90 days, if we're sitting here and we don't get a better offer, will you say to yourself, I should have accepted this? That's called future pacing. If you can take people out just a little bit, say, okay, I hear what you're saying. You want 1.6, and they're offering right now 1.3. Let's just stop for a moment, and let's go out 90 days. And it's 90 days from now, and they have not agreed to buy it at 1.6. They're agreeing to buy it at 1.3. And you want a counteroffer at 1.45. And now we're sitting here 90 days from today, and you're looking back, and there's nothing has happened. Are you going to look at me and say, Joe, I should have taken that? That's an embedded command. Joe, I should have taken that. And watch the decision-making process slow down to a halt, because people have to future pace that. They have to go out there. And if the husband and wife are not on the same page, you will watch a little battle start. Let them fight. You guys go ahead. I'll be over here. Because one person can get out and look backwards, and the other one's having a difficult time looking forward. Does that make sense, Joe? Some people have the ability to go out into the future and look backwards. Some people can only stand in the present and cannot see the future. There's different ways our brains are wired. And if you're working with somebody who has the ability to go out here and then look backwards, that's the person you want to talk to. And you can see when people go, yeah, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what's going to happen. And that's a really good way to notice who should I really be negotiating with right now. So we can go on and on and on. How many of you like this stuff? How many of you can see the wisdom in it? There you go, good. So what's the most valuable thing you've learned so far? If you were to just I've given you 17 patterns right now. What's the most valuable thing that you've gotten so far? Would you turn to the person next to you real quick and just tell them what's the biggest insight you've gotten? Yeah. You're not sexy enough, is that what you said? Too sexy for my clothes. Okay, come on back. So, I'm going to give away a set of our materials here. And so if you put your business card in here, you're eligible to get that. If not, you want to put your business card in here. This is what I've been working on for the last 3 years, is I put together a whole language system. And I'm a good teacher. Would you agree? Yeah, I'm a good teacher. I've been working at teaching for a long time. My mother was a school teacher. My father was a successful entrepreneur. My mom would always say to me, Joey, be a school teacher. And my dad would always say to me, Joey, go into business for yourself. So here I am. There you go. That's a good decision. So my mom, I've got 9 brothers and sisters, more than just a hobby for my father. Yeah. Why doesn't one person from your table represent the table, get everyone's card so you don't individually have to do all that again? Yeah. There you go. There you go. Thanks, Jim. There you go. About 3 years, 3.5, 4 years. Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to give you a set as a gift. Okay. Thank you for volunteering. That was kind of good. Okay, good. Okay, that's good. All right, come on back. There you go. Excellent. Very good. So one of the methods my mother used as a school teacher when we were growing up was flashcards. Flash something in front of you and repetition over and over and over again. And how many of you ever got a song in your head and you couldn't get it out? Yeah. Bye Bye Miss American. Drove my, but the levee was. Come on, how many of you remember that song? Okay, try it. Just see if you can get it. Bye. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was. Oh. Die. You know. Yeah, no, so how many times is the words "Bye Bye Miss American Pie" inside that song? If you get the lyrics, go print them out 22 times in 14 minutes. The song is 14 minutes long. Harvard has done some great research that says that if you say something 67 times in 14 minutes, it is permanently locked in to long-term memory. So if you want to learn something, commit 14 minutes and say it over and over and over and over again 67 times. And the neural connect, it's like your phone number. You're not going to forget it. Now, your driver's license number, maybe. You got your social security number? Yeah. But most of us don't even get our social security number locked in until we're 25. Your kids don't know it. Hey, Mom, what's my social security number again? But they know their phone number. You know, so it's like over and over and over and over and over again, it gets locked in. So when you're working with dialogue, it's repetition. It's over and over and over again. So what my mom recognized early was if I woke up, and she helped me develop my memory. And I'm so grateful for it because when you, in the American school system, it's not how smart you are, it's how long you can remember what you just read the night before, you know. And as a result, it helped me get through school quite well. So as a result, when I was putting my thoughts together, I was saying, okay, I really want to make a profound difference in the lives of people in the real estate and mortgage business. What would that way be? And it would be to take what I've learned from languaging and put them on flashcards. And then my friend Jamie Smart gave me the idea of put them on playing cards, and then you can play games and have fun with that. So I've created 4 decks of cards. There's 250 language patterns. Each card, I've got probably about 8 hours of time in each card because you only get X amount of space on a card. You get about 144 words per card. So when I sat with Jamie Smart and people like Richard Bandler and John Grinner, some people that you guys wouldn't want the bill that they gave me to sit down with these guys to put this together. And we would take each card and they would look at it and they would put it into a pattern, and I teach a lot of what's going on in each card. I teach each card individually, and you'll see how I do that. But when you look at it, you go, oh, that's why. Oh, that's why. And what I found is that when people have the why behind the content, they're more likely to use it. And so I really have taken a lot of time with each one of the dialogues, and the green deck, the red deck, and the black deck. And the green deck is magic words that get referrals. The red deck is magic words that remove resistance. The black deck is magic words that negotiate agreements. And then the yellow deck is called magic words that motivate me. So I put 4 decks of cards, 52 cards in each deck. And then to support that, what I did is I built a website called the Magic Words Dojo. I am the sensei, and you come to the dojo. And what we do in the dojo is we work on the dialogues. And so you'd come into the dojo and you'd say, okay, I want to work on my green cards, the magic words that get referrals, all right? So over about almost a 4-year period, I would have agents and lenders from all over North America fly to Southern California and spend a day with me at my home in Cardiff by the Sea. And I built a studio in my basement there, and we would film each card. So I would sit and I would train the card, and then I'd have an agent come up and I would role play with them and show them how to do it there. Because I know that you can often learn a lot better when you're watching somebody learn it. Like watching Elizabeth go through the 5, 6, and 7 was easier for you to learn it than me to explain it to you. You could get the concept when it's being role played out. And then what we did is we filmed all that, and I put that into a whole library. So there's 250 videos. You tell me which language you want to work with. You go to the dojo and you pull that card out, and then you'll find a video there. So this is an example of how that would work. This is the Jack of Spades, and it's how to ask for an introduction. And here's how the dialogue goes. If you want to watch and read and listen with me, it goes like this. Who is the next person you know that is most likely to buy their first home? I know you know someone. As you continue scanning through the people you know who need my help, who comes to mind first? I'm curious. What do you think would be the best way to introduce us? So that's the Jack of Spades, how to ask for an introduction. And I'm going to be Pastor Williams. And what I'm going to ask you to do is play this movie out with Pastor Williams with me right now. And be exactly who you are when you're with Pastor Williams, and take this dialogue and make it work for Pastor Williams. All right, so let's go. I'm Pastor Williams. Hey, Jackie.
Hey, Pastor Williams.
Yeah.
Hey, who's the next person that you know is most likely to buy their first home?
Gosh, Jackie,
I know you know someone.
yeah, I probably do.
Pastor Williams, as you're scanning through the people that you know that need my help or may need my help,
Yeah.
who comes to mind first?
Oh, who comes to mind first? That would probably be Tom.
Tom.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you know, Pastor Williams, it's easy as you can see coming up with the name of the person.
Yeah.
The challenging part is getting us together.
Yeah.
So I'm
Easy.
curious, what do you think is the best way to introduce us?
To get you and Tom talking to each other? Oh, boy, I probably would just give him a quick call, and let me call him right now. I'll call him now and get the two of you guys talking together now.
That sounds
Does that work
great.
for
I
you?
appreciate that.
Okay, here. Hey, Tom, I got Jackie right here. Here you go. Good. Now, what Jackie just did is so important, is that when you take the Jack of Spades and you look at that, the question you ask yourself, when is the time that I'm most likely to use this next? Okay, good. Now, how many of you could watch that a couple of times? And right before you make a phone call, you go, okay, I'm going to use the jack of spades on this phone call. And what I know as a teacher is you have to see it successfully executed. Your brain has to have a victory. You have to see someone have a victory with it. And when you say, if she can do it, then I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it. Now, that experience right there, I'm going to take you past that, is what I did is I took all of those dialogues. So we have them on the website. They're 15-minute long. So I took that training that I did with Jackie and cut it down to just a minute or so. But you could watch the whole 15-minute complete training. When you watch Jackie walk, she had no idea what it was. And then I put her into that state, that hypnotic state, where I actually induced that for her, where she was able to recall that instantly. And you could watch that whole experience for all 250 of them. But where I found some real practical application was with your cell phone. So I built a whole application for you that I've taken it all and I put it right on your cell phone. So you go to your cell phone, there's a magic words application will give that to you, and then you log in, and then once you log in, what happens is you get to, Ian, where did that stop there before? Uh-oh, technology. Yeah. We here? There you go. Okay, you just moved past them all there. There you go. No, yeah, but I would like you to. I'm backing it up. I got it. There you go. Okay, there you go. So thank you, Ian. Would you thank Ian? Thank you, Ian, the technology wizard. There you go. So you log in. You press your log in there, and then it will say find the dialogue. And what dialogue do you want? And you say, okay, I want to find a dialogue, or you can find your favorites. You can mark all your favorites off. And then I ask you the question, who do you want to work with? There's a buyer, seller, purchaser, or refinancer. You say, I want to work with a seller. And I'll say, what stage are they in right now? And then you identify the stage that they're in. Let's say that you're negotiating an agreement. So wherever you want language, you always ask, where's the client right now? And then you find language for that client. And then you go into that and you go, okay, I want to remove some resistance I'm getting right now in this negotiation phase. And then you press on that, and then that gives you all of the different dialogues that you would find. You just kind of scroll through them all, and you find which one you're looking at right now. And in this case, what they're saying is, I think you should cut your commission. How many have ever heard that when it comes to negotiating? And some of you are pretty good predictors that when you walk in, you got this agreement, and you know where they're going to go, even before you start. And what I would encourage you to do is do the preparation before you get there. Know that these are the possibles that could happen. And that's how every time you find a client, go, these are the possible things that can happen right now. And so do your training with that. And so then you come over here and you look up the dialogue and you click on that, and then right there is all of the material is right there for you. So you click on it, you watch the video right on your phone. I had a guy call me the other day, actually emailed me the other day. He says, Joe, I was in a negotiation and everything just stalled. And I knew about Accelerate the Decision from the Black Deck, the Queen of Hearts. So I asked if I could just excuse myself from the table. I went in the bathroom and I got my Mojo. That's Mobile Joe. And he clicked on it. He said he watched it a couple of times. And he came back. He says, I could remember it from the bathroom to the kitchen table. I came back and I used the dialogue, and I was successful to help him get through that. And that's how you learn language. You learn language when you need it. Usually you don't learn something unless you need it. So what I've done is I put this all together for you, and I'm going to give away a whole set right now. You can see the whole program right there, all the cards, and a charter membership to the dojo. So I'm going to give that away right now. So who'd like to win the whole thing? Anybody? Come on, with passion. You have to, who want to win? Okay. So I'm going to give one away. If you don't win, if you look inside there, I have an order form if you'd like to order a set. You take this right here. And here's my offer to you today. If you open up your form there, there's an order form right there. You'd fill that out and you bring it to the back table. I'm going to do something real special for you guys, is that normally it's $199 for all 4 sets of cards. And then we charge $29 a month to have access to the dojo, to have access to the mobile app. And my offer to you today is for $99, I'll give you all 4 decks of the cards, and then I'll pay for your first month on the dojo. So I'll give you 30 days of having the phone app. I'll give you 30 days of having unlimited access to the online. And then at the end of 30 days, if you want to continue with us, then it's $29 a month for the dojo. And if not, just tell us that you don't want to do that, and then we don't have a relationship there. But I'd love you to spend 30 days with me inside the dojo, situationally, and with 4 cards. So for $99, listen, if you don't have $99, that's why you want to do it. So I'm encouraged you to do this, all right? So you fill that out, and then you can pick one up before you leave. So, and the winner is, and by the way, Elizabeth, we're going to give Elizabeth a gift, all right? Elizabeth, I'm going to give Elizabeth a set for free, though, okay, Elizabeth? Okay, so thank you would you pull a card out for us? Yeah. There you go. And the winner is Elizabeth, who won? Saul Cohen, yeah. Is that Saul? Saul, congratulations. Isn't that nice?
Sir?
Yeah, I like that. Would you do me a favor? Would you take your form and you fill it out and you bring it back to Kurt and he'll give you a whole set, okay?
Okay.
All right, good. Hey, this afternoon, what we're going to do is I have a workshop I put together called Get 2 Referrals in 7 Days. And I have a very exact program on how to go out and get 2 referrals in 7 days using all the language. And I've been able to take that and weave in this whole story of me going through Kukoro. Kukoro is the Hell Week. It's the 50 hours of the Navy thing. So I've been able to figure out how to weave that into the way of getting 2 referrals, because I really want to teach you that what stops most people from getting what they want is they quit. And the most important lesson I've learned in life is no matter what, don't quit. No matter what, don't quit. And the muscle you want to develop more than anything is that muscle that under pressure, no matter what, you don't quit. And I believe when you even hear the word Navy SEALs, what do you think? Navy SEALs, what's the first word that comes to mind? Yeah. And you know what it is? It's the same qualities your client wants from you. Your client wants you to be like a SEAL for them. And so there are certain ways you can develop those disciplines and that self-control and that willpower. And I've been able to tap into that at an extraordinary level. And I've been able to put some lessons together that I'll weave into my talk this afternoon. So if you're interested, when we meet this afternoon, we're going to talk about 2 referrals, 7 days, and I'll weave in the Kokoro story. So did you get some good value today? Yeah. Okay, you guys, thank you very much. Good, thank you. So